Hello, everyone. Welcome to Filmmaker Review. This is Thomas.
This is Jay.
And today we are actually going to review Atomic Blonde. We got screening passes to see it early. And we are going to give our full opinion on the film. There are a few spoilers. We're not going to spoil too much of the film, but you will know certain things are going to happen, but we won't spoil any major twists or anything like that.
Not that there are any.
Well, yeah. I'm going to start off with the thing that I love the most about the film itself was the retro feel. How 80s it felt, because it was based in the 80s, and it was a comic book, I believe, Cold Day Afternoon or something like that, but the very retro look, the retro music, the retro sound was absolutely one of my favorite parts of the entire film.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have anything about the film itself that stood out?
No.
No?
I don't know. What made you want to see this movie?
Number one reason was the director attached to it, David Leitch. He co-directed with Chad Stahelski on John Wick, which anyone who knows me knows I'm a diehard fan of John Wick. It was so much fun. And so I really looked forward to seeing David Leitch on his own. And I believe I read he dropped out of John Wick 2 to take on Atomic Blonde as the main director and let Chad take John Wick 2 on its own. But that was the number one pull for me. And I like Charlize Theron too. So, I mean, she always delivers, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I need, you told me about. I didn't really know. I just saw the poster that one time I went to see Baby Driver.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about. I thought, oh, that's a really cool poster. I know nothing about it. I think you mentioned it to me before, but I didn't really.
Right. Oh yeah.
But
well, because I didn't really know what it was about. It was just it was a female John Wick, or like you said, the one trailer you saw right before we went into the screening, like the female James Bond or whatever.
Yeah, that's what the trailer said, and you told me that the same guy who worked on John Wick worked on this movie, and I was like, oh, that's cool. It's gonna be a female John Wick. So
yeah.
I went into with the expectations that it was gonna be John Wick, essentially.
Right.
So what do you like? Compared to John Wick, how do you think? Is it John Wick or is it?
Oh no, it's definitely not John Wick. It's not, and I know that I wanted it to be,
mm-hmm.
and I don't think that's why the film doesn't score so well for me. I guess, even though I know that I wanted it, I was okay not getting it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely not a John Wick film. Well, I take that back. It is a John Wick-esque film, but it is not John Wick or a female John Wick or even a female James Bond, really.
Yeah,
there was no gadgets. There was nothing
true.
that was real. There was no James Bond-nish about it, except for of course maybe like the sex stuff, which is always kind of a staple with Bond as a character, anyways.
Yeah, I've never been a James Bond fan.
Really, you don't even like the Daniel Craig ones?
Yeah, they're just like, eh.
Nah, I think they're fun.
I've only seen Casino Royale.
That is on the Wall of Fame of posters, actually. Casino Royale is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, I see it now. But I don't know. I'll have to watch it again. Maybe I just was too young or something. Didn't really care.
That's true. We were a lot younger.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was 11 years ago. Oh my lord.
Yeah, that's been a while ago.
Yeah.
So there's probably several movies that I could watch again. I'm like, oh, I really appreciate this now. Like.
Oh yeah. I mean, our abilities and our love of film has grown.
That's the thing that I don't like about James Bond is there's just a whole lot of talking from what I can remember. It's just like a whole lot of like Casino Royale. It's there in that poker scene. I'm just like, this is kind of really boring. And maybe that's because I was younger.
I think so, because I think it had enough action that
mm-hmm.
satisfied that constant dialogue. Now, speaking of dialogue and constant action, I feel that Atomic Blonde kind of failed in a little bit of that aspect where they ruined one of the better fights. What could have been one of the better fights in the trailer, the where she had the water hose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't know what we don't know it's a water hose in the trailer, but we know what's going on, and we see her jump out the window in the trailer, and
Yeah.
so that whole moment was kind of, eh. We knew it was going to be there.
I had not seen any trailers. I accidentally saw parts of one because I was like, I don't want to look it up or anything. I just
Right.
wanted to, and there was a YouTube ad, and I was like, oh no. By the time I realized what it was too late. But so I saw that scene a little bit, but it was a little lackluster.
It was very lackluster. It didn't do anything, and I don't want to say new because it's very hard to do new action. You know,
it was very born like kind of that same, like we were watching that clip the other day.
Yeah, where he fights
scene.
Joey Ansa in Bourne Ultimatum. Yeah,
and it had a lot of quick cuts,
but not as much. Not as much.
Correct.
They let Charlize Theron really get into the action and do the stunts in that aspect a little bit, which was a lot of fun to see.
But you can, like, I remember distinctly being like, they would cut on impacts, you know, which they do to sell the impact. You know, they're not
right.
That makes it seem like it's hitting harder than it really is, edit wise. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't like great. It wasn't as good as the fight scene that came much later in the
movie. the stairwell, which really, they really tried to sell it as one, you know, continuous take, and
they did a wonderful job.
Yeah, unless you're like a film nerd, you're not gonna notice that it wasn't. You know, like it's really well done. It reminds me of that film that they showed us in film class, or one of our film classes in college. I actually own the film, The Protector, where Tony Jaa is going up the stairs in this like big place, and the camera just follows him up these stairs, and he's fighting all these guys and knocking them down.
Oh,
like
yeah.
they really kind of had that kind of vibe to it, which was a lot of fun. You add guns in there, and you know, it was even more fun. But I think the part that sold me the most on that fight in particular was how human she was, like how normal she was when she's just getting tired and she's struggling to stand up. She's beaten badly, and they did such a great job there that it made up for the beginning fight not being as good, I guess, in a weird way, because when you look at John Wick, and you watch the interviews with the directors, it was meant to have that comic book, like, over-the-top feel. So he was supposed to appear like a machine, which I loved. It was just a lot of fun to enjoy.
Right.
And with her, she's a human. Of course, she's human, but you know what I mean. Like she's just a CIA agent or whatever agent she was. I don't remember.
M6.
MI6. Thank you.
MI6.
And it showed. It's like that movie Old Boy, where they have this big, long, continuous one hallway take, and all these guys are fighting. They're all just like dog tired and having to struggle to get back up to keep going. I loved that part of the film. When in terms of the fight scenes, now when we want to talk about just the action scenes in general, that car scene, I guess she's trying to get that guy out of Berlin or whatever. It was just so beautiful. It looked really good. It was really intense. The music was perfect. I believe it was Flock of Seagulls, I Ran was playing in the background, and you know they had that one with a camera when she did the 180 in the car. The camera does the 180 with you, and like you're kind of, it feels like you're in the back seat, you know, going with the action. It was really, really great. I think other than that, you know, like I mentioned how human they made her, so her realism is really what I really wanted to, you know, touch on the most. And in those aspects, like the action aspects, and she's constantly like banged up, like her eye socket was sunk in at one point, you know, like I loved that realism, but they failed in her character development. You know, I didn't care why she was doing anything. I think you and I even agreed on that after the film. It was like, I mean, you know, when somebody died and she's giving this emotional bit, I'm like, it's your problem, you know, like.
Yeah, she doesn't like.
Because she even made an off comment. She's like, "This is the life we chose," and I'm like, so why are you crying? You know, like there was
Right.
no reason to care about why she was upset
Yeah, they didn't establish that very well at all. What do
or
you,
her.
right. What do you think about um, the opening sequence with her in like the
Oh yeah,
like we
it took me a minute.
yeah we see her after the initial scene.
Mm-hmm.
Um, are introduced to her more or less
In the ice bath.
in the ice bath.
Yeah.
Do you think like? Well, my thoughts are that it was kind of. First of all, that was a very slow sequence. Like it took forever.
It was because you just came off of like the in your face action of that of the how the movie even gets started. This guy's killed. We're gonna take his. We've got this list of
really
people.
Yeah, the list of double agents or whatever.
Yeah. Or no, the list of agents. It wasn't even just double agents. It was like every agent. So like every
Right.
agent's personal information would go out or whatever. And that's like our whole job.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that is in your face. Like boom, boom, boom. Why are you doing this? You're not even the best. Yeah, bam. It's over.
Oh, yeah, and I really liked that whole open. I was like, man, this is a really cool movie because,
It was beautiful,
This is
too.
not a spoiler or anything. Like, the guy's running through the snow
Mm-hmm.
in like a snowy city, and it's like really actiony, and he's just like the camera's tracking with him, and it looks super awesome, and it has this really cool spray paint graphics. Like, I was like, dude, that's so cool.
Oh yeah, the way they did like the introduction, like or the cast, like like directed by David Leitch. Yeah, that stuff was awesome.
I was like, man, that's really awesome. Like, I don't watch a whole lot of movies, but that's just a really cool idea for graphics. Is like, and it's like kind of edgy.
Right.
It had that slight Suicide Squad. Like, this sounds weird, but like they're kind of like graphics that would be in the Suicide Squad.
Right, but it's what Suicide Squad should have done, and then it would have been better off.
But yeah, I was like, when I saw that and the guy running, just the shot, and I was like, man, this is gonna be a pretty epic movie.
Yeah, it felt really good, and then we get to Charlize Theron,
and then we get to and then we hit her, and then we just hit a wall, and the pace drops dramatically,
tremendously. I mean,
so throughout the whole movie, it's just super slow.
And like, so your opening scene should always kind of set the tone almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the tone didn't feel like it was going to be slow with the guy being chased through the city.
Mm-hmm.
It felt abruptly slow when we're introduced to Charlize Theron's character, and
yeah,
I'm sitting here and the guys in the theater are happy because she's nude. I'm sitting here like, get on with it, like, let's go. I could care less, I didn't come here to pay to see you naked, Charlize Theron. Let's go, come on. And like, the other thing, like when we do pull-in shots, or when we truck in the camera, it's because we're going into that character, or something is changing dramatically. And I think when we pull out, we try to sell the emotion of like loss or emptiness or something. And I didn't really feel that way with the emptiness. I just felt like we were fixing to get her whole story, and that's what we did. And I was like, I don't really like how they did that, and it took way too long to even get started.
Yeah, I'm not like, they kind of tried to establish that she had like a relationship with the guy in the beginning, but they really didn't do a good job on that, because she had that picture, and this is in the opening.
Yeah, like 3 minutes of the film.
Yeah, first few minutes, and she finds a picture and then burns it for whatever reason, and then
it did nothing.
Yeah, and then they kind of hinted that later that they had like a relationship, but again, you get the idea that she doesn't really care that he's gone. That's turning it up. Okay. I don't know.
I agree.
I didn't like the whole structure of the film and the interrogation thing. Not to say that's a bad idea, I just don't think it was executed very well, because this is my biggest problem with her character, is her attitude in the interrogation room, I think. Because she's very laid back, and I know something you don't know, or I'm elegant, and when the fact is, like, it would have been better, I think, if she was a little shaken up, more so than she is. Like I get she's like a MI6 agent and
Yeah,
she's
no,
supposed to
yeah,
be
I
tough,
get what you're
but she
saying.
needs to be humanized because that really doesn't because we don't care about her through the
Exactly,
whole
and
movie.
like
We don't care
so,
about it at
no
all.
matter what happens, people guns are going off, explosions. We know she's gonna be okay. So we had
Right.
no reason to care about her because we know she's gonna make it.
Yeah, she should have been torn up and broken up and just like I just went through some crazy stuff
Yeah,
and I need and then
and then you have James
and you're sitting
McAvoy.
here you're sitting here interrogating me on the stuff I just went through. This is horrible.
Yeah,
That's what that
exactly.
should be the attitude, I think,
I agree.
because she's just too I don't know, too puffed up and has
Hmm.
a cigarette and she's like, let me tell you a thing or two, or
Yeah,
has that
she really
attitude.
had that. Yeah, and it didn't work. Like, and then James McAvoy comes in,
Hmm.
as the character, like the other character that's like her contact or whatever. And in the trailer, they introduced him great. Like I loved it because they showed that whole like heel thing in the trailer. It's like, don't shoot, I've got your shoe, and
Yeah,
like that was super fun. And I ended up liking him more throughout the entire film, which is kind of strange because like he had a lot of screen time, but he didn't have a lot of screen time.
hmm
Like it was mostly her.
he had the he was the most interesting character in the whole movie,
Hmm.
which shouldn't be the case if you think like he's a cool character, but he shouldn't be overshadowing her.
And he did, and I don't think.
He was more enjoyable when he was on camera. It was fun, and I enjoyed watching the movie. But when he was off camera, it was kind of like you're back into the slow pace of.
Right. And maybe they were going for like a hot and cold thing. I don't know, but I didn't like it either. Now McAvoy is phenomenal, in his own right as an actor. So my question is, who do we really blame on that one? Like, do we blame Charlize Theron for her performance?
No,
We
I don't
can't
think so.
because she was directed to do that performance.
Right.
Now, do I blame the director? I don't really want to blame the director because I like the attempts that were made. Because we also don't know, he could have, something crazy that he could have went over budget, and the production company stepped in and said, "You can't do this anymore. It's gonna be this way." Da, 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 da. We don't know the full details, so like we're just, we're giving our best look at the film, and that film suffers the most, I think, from writing. I think it had a great cast. I think it
Mm-hmm.
had great direction, but I think the story just wasn't as good as it should have been.
And I think um yeah, like there wasn't a payoff at the end.
Right.
There wasn't like a there was no build up. There was no like okay, now I'm satisfied as an audience of just watching this whole movie. Now it all makes sense. But now you're just kind of like okay, well, I guess I go home now. Like I don't.
Yeah,
It just
it's
wasn't
how
that
it felt.
because yeah, and I think it has to do with like you said the writing and the direction that the character took.
Well, let's look at John Wick 2,
Mm-hmm.
for example. Some people feel like it was kind of a ripoff that he just runs off into the night at the very end. They're like, there's no payoff, and I was like, there's plenty of payoff.
Yeah,
When he
that's
killed
totally.
that guy in the Continental, I felt great.
Yeah, that's it. That's
It
like that's the moment. That's
it
like, oh,
it
that's
took
it.
me by surprise too.
Right.
And that scene of him squeezing the trigger is actually in the trailer, and you never process it. Like that whole moment was done so well, and it was a great payoff. And there was still more to the film.
Mm-hmm.
When Atomic Blonde ended, like you said, we were just kind of like, oh well, I guess we leave now. And that, like, I mean, it didn't feel like it was completed.
Yeah, I wasn't satisfied.
Mm-mm.
It was just like,
But
and that's
it's not an all bad film. Like that's the problem, is like it had such great qualities about it.
it did.
Like oh, what? Let me think of one of the ones that I really enjoyed. Um, well, I've already reviewed the things that I thought that were amazing about it. The staircase fight, the retro feel.
Mm-hmm.
Her realism, and then the car scene. Like all I have left to say is bad stuff, which is kind of sad. But
Yeah,
it's
there's only two shots that I thought like cinematography wise were really awesome, and I can only remember one of them. But it was like the ending shot where she's walking in towards an airplane, It's just like, wow, that's a really awesome
Though it
shot.
was a beautiful shot, the way
But
the
that
gates
was,
open, like the iron doors or whatever.
but that was really the only one that I was like, wow, that's really awesome. I feel like you should lead a movie with that. You know, not save it to the end.
Well,
But
it's not necessarily true. If you lead in with it, then you got to keep it up.
that's true.
It's kind of like a double negative almost.
I don't know, but
I agree. Like there wasn't nothing that was really that stood out, and I think that was like the biggest problem. Is like you can't even remember the other shot that you liked.
yeah,
One thing that I did, we already discussed her kind of lack of emotion, how we weren't really attached to her, and that kind of leads to bad character development as well. And so I'm gonna talk about the two things that really just bugged the life out of me. Number one being the constant reds that were like overly used. Like it was almost like shoving it down my throat. Now, we all know that John Wick kind of sparked my love of color, and the way that he walks into the red circle and he knifes that guy underneath his jaw, and as he eases him down and stares into his eyes as he goes lifeless, his face becomes red, illuminated in the red, and it was really beautiful and looked really great. And this film, it was everywhere you turn, they're just soaked in like red and blue lights. I'm like, guys, like it had that retro feel in the hotel room. That's great. It feels retro with the corded phones and everything, but you're killing me with just shoving this color down my throat. And it was very John Wick repeated colors.
mm-hmm.
In John Wick in the Continental, before he meets the owner of the Continental in the first film, he talks to that bartender, and like he's in green, she's in yellow, or vice versa, or whatever. And they just use the same color schemes in Atomic Blonde, which was very frustrating. I was just like, especially because it didn't feel like it served purpose.
Mm-hmm. It didn't add to emotion or add to
right
any story development.
Right.
Which, yeah.
Now, the number one thing that I hated the most about the film is going to be that really bad slow motion at the very end of the film.
Yeah. That's something you go, hey, let's watch that back. Hey, let's do that again.
Yeah,
that was not good.
Either A, they were out of production days to keep going, or they just thought it was good.
Yeah, I kind of...
But like who reviewed the edit before it went out?
Yeah.
I'd have removed the slow motion if it looked that bad. I'd be like, no, you know what? Take that slow motion out, leave it full force, and be done.
Okay, so for whoever's hasn't seen the movie.
Well, no one's seen it yet. Well,
this is true.
It's not publicly released yet.
Good point. So what's wrong with the slow motion?
Oh yeah, sorry. She's got a gun, of course, and she has a gun the whole movie, and she's shooting at people, but they're reacting before she even pulls the trigger at times.
How long do you think they react before the trigger's pulled? Like
it's
a millisecond?
No, it's like a solid 2 seconds almost. The one guy that got shot in the gut, he was straight bent over before she even pulled the trigger. He was like, ugh, and then she's like, bang, and I'm like, really? And I thought I was the one that noticed it. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm looking around the room like, no one's saying anything. And then you're like, that slow motion was terrible.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know how do you... That's something you gotta choreograph pretty tightly.
And like, it's 8711. I expect great things from these guys.
Right. That must have been like some B team or something.
And I got like, that, hey. And I'm sitting here like, did you just really hand me that on a plate?
Yeah.
Like, I was very disappointed with that directly because it was so bad.
Mm-hmm. That's like amateurish. Like,
yeah.
That's like, yeah. It's
and
not good.
I'm
not to say that we're professionals.
Right. I mean, we're not in Hollywood. Congratulations, David Leitch. Either way you go.
Yeah, but that's like
it was bad.
Yeah.
What's the oh gosh, the word, I can't think of the word, but like
at the very least, it's not terribly difficult to probably fix the timing on some of those things in post.
Right.
Like, you can
could have adjusted.
You can do crazy stuff.
You could have adjusted the slide of the gun and all that.
And they probably put the flashes in post anyway.
Oh yeah.
Who knows? So they could adjust that. They could delay her finger moving. It's not
something.
It's not like you said. Like, why did you give us this?
Right.
It's like
I want to know why. Like,
you
I want David
like
Leitch to call me on my phone and say, "This is why it happened. We went over budget, or went over time, or whatever the case is." Because like there was just certain things that like I expected more out of him in general. But that's not to say that he didn't get blackballed and didn't get to make choices on the edit. That happens very often. We know that. But I still can't think of the word, so I'm just going to go with checked out. I was so checked out of the movie already when that scene happened. I was just ready to go.
Yeah. It's kind of like a whole very useless scene.
And then
was it?
Yeah, it was pretty useless.
It was kind of useless. They could have.
Yeah, I mean, they could have left it dead. But we're not going to spoil anything out, with that. But, seriously, I was so checked out. I wasn't really giving it, I wasn't, combing it for, errors. And I noticed it. And I think it's what bugs me so much. I was like, did I just see that? And then it happens again. Yeah. It happens again. I'm like, I did see that. This is terrible.
Every bullet that fired was wrong.
Except for the guy that got his head. She shot him in the head, and it blew the back of his head apart. And it covered the lips of that woman in the painting on the wall. That was that was, the best one. Because it, added to the painting, which was awesome. I really liked that idea. But, that was the only one that was, done well and timed well, in my opinion.
I don't remember that. I mean, I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I didn't notice it because it was okay.
Yeah, probably.
I was like, oh, yeah. I remember the blood thing. Yeah. That was probably the worst part of the whole movie.
Yeah.
Just from a technical standpoint.
Just from a technical standpoint, yeah, I agree. But, all in all, I'm not saying don't see the film. If you like action, go for it. A lot of fun. It's got some fun retro to it. Oh, God, I'm probably going to butcher her name. Sofia Boutella's in it as a French cop, and it's awesome.
What did you think about her character, though?
I liked her. I liked her more than Charlize Theron.
I didn't like her from the first time I saw her. It's like she just didn't. I don't know.
She felt placed.
Yeah.
She felt very placed.
Yeah, her character. She just didn't add anything to the story.
No. It didn't add nothing for you and me, but it added fan service. It added a lesbian sex scene that people were cheering for, and I was like, this was literally useless.
It contributed zero to the story.
Her existence contributed zero to the story. Yeah. Well, no, I take that back. She gave one useful bit of information, and that was it. And I'm not going to spoil it because I want people to actually see the movie.
Yeah,
but they could have done it differently. I think it was just placed because they wanted girl-on-girl action. Which, hey, your movie, you go for it. You do you. That's fine. It just felt useless. And I guess sex scenes always kind of feel useless anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
To me, especially, because I want substance. I don't care what you guys. We all know what goes on. You could just close the bedroom door, and in my mind, I know what's going to happen. I don't need to see it.
Yeah, it went on for a very long time.
Oh, yeah. They sold that thing.
I was like, oh my goodness.
They could clip that thing, put it on YouTube, and make 1 million hits in a weekend. I know how we get hits. I know how we do it.
Yeah, so that didn't.
It just didn't need to exist, and then it did though. Cool, whatever. If you had to give it out of a 10-star, what would you give it?
5. I mean, 2.
Oh my goodness, that low.
I don't know why I said 5. I don't know. I wouldn't see it again. I had no interest in seeing it ever again. It's just.
Sadly, me neither. And I wanted to love it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was just like, no, I'll pass next time that's offered for me to see.
I'll give it a 5. I mean, I'd watch it again if it was on TV, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it. I mean, on a channel surfing night.
Maybe. I don't have television, so that would never happen. But I don't know. Maybe a 5.
That's okay. You keep it a 2. No, I won't be offended. I'm not offended.
I said 5 first.
David Leitch might be offended, but I'm not offended.
I don't know. It just did nothing. I didn't like any of the characters except for that one guy, who was David McAvoy.
No, James McAvoy is his name.
James McAvoy.
I think his name was David.
David Percival.
Percival. Yeah, there it is.
He was a cool character.
He was, and his intro was ridiculously good.
It was.
that's the thing. There was so many
Yeah,
highlights.
that was awesome.
You know, like there was so many good points. You know,
and that was the thing. That was another, like, I remember, John Wick does a really fantastic job establishing a universe.
yes,
Like, without even establishing it, it just, you watch it and this universe already exists, and John Wick,
we're just dumped in the middle of it.
we're following John Wick into the world that he already knows exists, and everyone knows who he is, and he knows everyone else.
Right.
And it's just like established that he is like the best in the business, and like we kind of get that same hint with Percival when we first see him, dealing out liquor or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that was kind of like, okay, I got that feel of, okay, this is the world they live in. He's like, I don't know what he does exactly, but he's like
connected.
He's trading information for alcohol.
Right.
Like he's giving, like, people are giving him information and he gives them alcohol. And I was like, okay, that's really interesting. And I haven't
It's a
seen
very
that before.
very interesting way to introduce a character too. Like,
Yeah,
it was
I was like, oh, this is gonna be
because
cool.
he shouted something or whatever, right, like almost broke the fourth wall, or did break the fourth wall.
Yeah.
He's like shouting, and you're just like, what is he doing?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, information's good as money. Who wants a bottle of Jack? And I'm like, man,
Yeah.
this is working.
And it's not quite to the level of John Wick, but it's like that idea of this is a world,
Mm-hmm.
and we're kind of getting into this world, and like this is how he gets the information. This is how he runs his agent business, so
Right.
to speak, quote unquote.
Right.
Like, it's kind of cool. Like he's kind of playing the game.
Right. He's playing the game that he's been handed because that's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, I think that was a great. Again, it was a great way to introduce the character, and it was a great way to kind of, like you said, throw you into that world that, like, he's obviously connected and he's pulling favors and stuff. And then, well, it's like she shows up into Berlin or whatever, and she meets that contact, and then all of a sudden they're like buddy. This guy's like, whatever you need, I got it. I'm your man. I'm like, what are you doing?
I don't remember that.
The younger guy, he was on the roof of that building or whatever.
Oh,
yeah. She was his contact, and like he just did whatever she asked him to do.
Yeah, I forgot about that guy. Was he? He was the guy. Was that the only time we see him, or was that?
No, he was
the guy.
He was dressed differently later.
Okay, he was the guy who helped her
get the
hostage
guy. The hostage guy. Yeah. I can't remember what he was called or his name.
Spyglass.
Spyglass. Thank you. He doesn't actually stick out in my mind either, which is kind of sad. With a name like Spyglass, you'd think he would.
He was kind of a comedic character.
He was.
Just that whole
the
scene was pretty good.
Oh yeah, because he's with her at the gunfight in the stairwell or whatever.
Yeah, you see him once and he's like bleeding out. And he's like,
the next time you see him, he's doing real
tape.
Comedically, fixing himself up. It's super funny, and it was a light way to end that very brutal scene with her.
Yeah.
And like that was it. Like that was the highlight of the movie.
It was.
It really was. Like that was the best part, and then it just fell on its face.
I wonder, in making the movie, they're like, I see a scene, and they probably spent so much time on that.
They forgot everything else.
And they're like, oh crap, we gotta make this whole other movie. Because I don't know, pacing was way too slow for a lot of it until the end. Then it got really good, and then you just didn't get that payoff because the build-up was not there.
Right.
That's the biggest issue. They didn't really know what was going on. I didn't know really what was going on most of the time.
It was very, because it was kind of filling you in as we went.
Yeah.
And so you had to wait for her to like catch up and say something. And you're like, oh, okay, whatever.
Oh, and the biggest, I told you this already, but so the whole thing takes place in Berlin. We should have probably said that before. Like when the wall was still up between East and West.
Oh yeah, it
Berlin.
takes place in '89 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We didn't talk about location. So they would cross the wall, so we would be in one side of Berlin, and then like the next scene would be in the next side, other side of Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that was happening until the movie was almost over.
Right, because it wasn't prominent. They would just spray paint east or west on the screen.
I didn't understand what I didn't. My mind wasn't.
It wasn't
there.
well established.
I wasn't thinking about that really. I was like, I don't know. I don't even think they really established the wall was there for a while either, didn't they? Maybe they did.
Yeah, no, they did. They did.
I don't know. maybe
That was when John Goodman's character met her.
yeah, that was kind of later though.
On the wall. I thought it was towards the beginning.
No, I think that was like at least the midpoint.
Maybe.
But it was like, I don't know. I just maybe I missed it. I didn't really think about it. But regardless, I think it would have been better if they had some kind of color correction to distinguish the sides. Like have one side be more saturated or desaturated than the other side.
Mm-hmm. No, we talked about that too. That would have been a great idea.
I think that would have made it much easier to figure out what's going on because I had trouble following. Not that it was overly significant.
Right. I don't know. I want people to see it, but I don't want people to see it.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I'd be like, I wouldn't see it. But
you recommend Baby Driver.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I'd see that again.
I want to see it again. We should. So we can't talk about that though. We gotta save it for when we bring our next guest on. We'll bring Nate in, and we talk about the action films of the summer.
Yeah.
Baby Driver's best.
Oh yeah, that was Baby Driver's way better than Atomic Blonde. So if you're gonna see a movie,
it'd be Baby Driver. Yeah, absolutely.
If you've already seen the Baby Driver,
watch it again.
And you just go see it again. And if you don't want to see it again after you've seen it twice,
go watch Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that.
I haven't either yet. Not yet.
We should. You should go see that. And then, if you're really bored, go see Atomic Blonde. I don't know. Overall, I didn't really enjoy it, but
no, it could have been better. And that I went in wanting more from David Leitch, a film directed by David Leitch, and because like he's directing the new Deadpool movie, and not that I'm a big fan of the first one, but like people are kind of leaning in for that, like so if people go in and they're like, oh man, Atomic Blonde sucks, and they come out, it's gonna hurt Deadpool. I mean, it may not hurt it a lot, but it's gonna hurt a little bit.
He's only directed 2 things, right? Including Atomic Blonde,
something like that, yeah. The sad thing is, though, is like Deadpool has such a staple of characters now. He become like a cult following once he got his own film. Mm-hmm. He had a following before. He really did. He had a big following of like loyal comic book fans. But now he's like a staple to like everybody. People love him who've never heard of him before. And while that's great and everything, that film's not that good either. Like watching it the first time because you don't expect things are going on. It's funny and it's fun, but the second time around you're like, oh my gosh, it is terrible. And I guess they were counting on people just dumbly watching it and then not trying to tear it apart. But I was very displeased second time around.
I saw something about that. It was pretty funny. Like I haven't seen the movie, but like he's in the laundromat or something. And he's like. Talking about Deadpool, he's like breaking the fourth wall again, and he's like breaking a fourth wall within the fourth wall. It's like 16 walls, and then somebody went back and counted every time he broke the fourth wall, and it's 16 times up to that point.
Oh wow!
So it's like he actually broke the fourth wall 16 times throughout the movie.
Wow!
So it's kind of funny. It's kind of meta.
I like things like that. Like, throw in, give me a little clever, snippet in there. I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So.
But I think that concludes today's Atomic Blonde review. Hopefully. Don't go see it, but do go see it. I feel so bad because I really wanted David Leitch to knock it out of the park, and I don't think it was a failure of direction. I think it was a failure of the writing of the story.
Yeah.
So I don't hold him accountable solely for it.
Yeah, you can't go into the movie thinking it's going to be John Wick. That's the main thing.
Definitely. And don't listen to the trailer that says it's female James Bond, because it's not.
Yeah, that's true. There's no gadgets. I didn't even think about that, but I don't know. It was just very slow pace. She wasn't a well-developed character.
Yeah. And I like her, and I like David Leitch. I can't say that enough.
Yeah, I haven't, but I don't know. Whatever. Hopefully you'll listen to us next week.
Right. Comes out in, 3 weeks now? Something like that? Let's see here. 2.5 weeks, Atomic Blonde drops.
It's at July 28th?
Yep.
Excellent. Yeah, we didn't want to wait to review it. So,
No, not at all.
so see it, don't see it.
Subscribe, don't subscribe, whatever. It's all good for us. Our next podcast, though, we are going to be reviewing the best films, considered the best films of the year so far, and then we're going to give our personal view on the best films we've seen this year so far. So make sure you guys check that out.
Give any feedback for our podcast.
That's right. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Filmmaker Review.